Welcome back, guys. I'm Shallon Lester. If you're brand new here, welcome to the Shallon Entourage. Today, we're going to talk about something that all of you guys have been asking me about for evs, which is Beyonce and JayZ. What is the real deal with their relationship? Break down the dynamic, and most importantly, what can we learn from their relationship and take into our own lives and use to better ourselves? And if you guys notice, yeah, I'm wearing a shirt with bees on it because we're going to talk about the Queen Bee. But before we jump into it, I just want to let you guys know that if you want some one-on-one counseling from me, some private chit chat, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO and click chat to get connected right away. It's me, no bots, all Shallon, baby. And follow me on social media at ShallonXO on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, and click like and subscribe for new videos every other day and deep dives on psychological subjects every Friday. So Jay and Bey. So if you guys, again, are new here and you don't know much about my history, I was the editor at Star Magazine for a really long time, and I've been in celebrity gossip in that world. I've worked for a glamour magazine, the New York Daily News, whole bunch of places for over 10 years in New York City. So I have heard a lot of things about a lot of celebrities. And now that I've kind of like moved out of that celeb gossip career space, I'm blabbing what I know. I'm blabbing it out. No one can stop me. So let me also say up front, I love Beyonce. Like her music truly has changed my life in a way that no one else's has. Bootylicious, when people are like, what, it's like a transformative piece of art you've experienced. I'm like, booty goddamn licious. Because before Bootylicious came out, like I was very young, and like our sort of like body idols, our sexy women was like Jessica Simpson, tits, and Paris Hilton, who's like a noodle. And I'm like, okay, I'm neither one of these body types. Like, who am I? I have no one to look up to, and I just feel like very unattractive. And out of left field comes Beyonce with the butt, because that's way more my body shape. And I was like, oh my God, I have value. Like I can be sexy even though I'm not like tits on stick little legs and a big, long, skinny woman. Like there's a place for me. And her and Destiny Child's song, their song Emotion, it's a cover of a Bee Gees song. If you have a broken heart, if you have a bad day, you put on Emotion. And those few chords, they will like burrow into your brain. And whenever you're sad, you'll like hear it start, and it will be like your own like analgesic theme music. I love it. So I'm saying this to you because everything I'm about to tell you about Beyonce is not coming from a place of hatefulness or anything. Like, I love her. I am simply going to recount to you things that I have been told by impeccable sources. So let's go. So Beyonce and JayZ. On one hand, they look like this power couple, right? Like they have everything. They have adorable kids. They have these thriving careers. They're both super supportive of each other. But then it's like Lemonade comes out and she's like smashing in windows of cars and he's fucking cheating on people. And you're like, oh my God, like what's happening? But they're not breaking up. And so people, I think in a way it helped kind of like humanize Beyonce because she's such a unicorn of a creature. But then everyone asks the logical question, okay, if he's a cheater, why are you staying with him? You have to understand what's going on with these two a little bit deeper because there's more to meets the eye than Beyonce and JayZ. So here's what I know. Before I was like running Star Magazine, when I was working under this one editor-in-chief who was very chill. He was very much a dad, very much a businessman, not into the gossip scene, not into celebs. And in a way, that's exactly who you need to run a gossip magazine. Someone who's dispassionate. You know, they're not like, we stand for Beyonce. Like he's looking at the numbers, he's analytical, but he was really cool and really chill. He was a great boss. So he was like very agnostic about any celebs. Like he wouldn't think to gossip about them or make things up. Like he just didn't care enough. So when he would tell us things that he had seen or observed, it was the truth. And one time we were in a meeting, we were talking about Beyonce. He's like, I had dinner with her a few weeks ago. And we're like, excuse me, what? He's like, do you guys want to know about Beyonce? And we're like, oh, like we were almost foaming at the mouth. We couldn't handle it. This is what he said to me. These are his words. These are his words. He's like, it was a group dinner. And like some fancy place in New York, I can't remember where. He's like, there were about 10 of us. He's like, and if I didn't know that was Beyonce, like Beyonce sitting across the table from me, I would think she was retarded. And the room was silent, pin drop. We were like, I'm sorry, did you just say you would, what? And he's like, and he, again, this is his retelling. He's like, she couldn't really read the menu. Like someone was like going over it with her, like and not just like, oh, what are you going to get? Like they were going over it with her, like you would go over it with a child. And then somebody else at the table, and this was all like, you know, her team, like editors, makeup artists, like it wasn't like she knew every single person at that table. And I guess he was there with somebody, whatever. Somebody had a chess set and they put it in a Prada bag and they were like giving it to somebody else, like a Prada shopping bag, like a paper shopping bag. And they're like, oh, thanks. And Beyonce's like, wait a minute, Prada makes a chess set? Why don't I have one? And they're like, oh, no, I just put it in the bag. I just need to give him something. She's like, Prada makes a chess set and I don't have one. Why don't I have a Prada chess set? And they're like, no, it's not a Prada chess set. It's a chess set. I just am using this bag to transport it in. And she could not get it. She couldn't understand that. She couldn't understand what a bag does. Again, this is his account. I have no idea. He could be completely making this up. This could have been an Ambien fever dream that he was just spouting out in a meeting at 11 a.m. I don't know. But it got me to thinking, say that this is right. Say that this is right. Suddenly, when you look at her relationship with JayZ, it makes more sense. And I'll tell you why. As we've talked about, fame is a kind of trauma, and trauma freezes you emotionally at the age at which it occurs. So it's like if you look at Justin Bieber, you know, if you look at him through the lens of sort of like a perma 15-year-old, stuff he does kind of makes more sense. You know, the whole peeing in the mop bucket thing, you're like, that's about par for the course. And if you look at Beyonce, her entire existence was groomed to be a celebrity. Not just a celebrity, a superstar. Every waking minute she spent was probably singing in the mirror, rehearsing, dancing, like doing that whole thing. She didn't get a lot of street smarts. You know, she didn't have that opportunity. You can't do both. You know, something's got to give. She didn't get to go to college and study abroad. She missed out, I think, on a lot of socialization. A lot of young stars do. Look at Britney Spears. You know, like she needs a lot of hand-holding. I mean, granted, she's got mental illness issues at play, but like she's always sort of been kind of like that childlike person. You know, she's sort of frozen there. And it's like, I think that's why people love her. They sort of like love her and want to protect her. But Beyonce, people don't have that instinct for because she seems just so incredibly powerful. And she is powerful. But it's like when you look at her as sort of like this sheltered, like one-dimensional, in terms of her socialization, I mean, person, you have someone like JayZ comes along, and I mean, my God, he is the definition of street smarts, right? Like, he's not a businessman, he's a businessman. Oh, I just love him. He has taught me so much. Like, he is, like, I don't think when Jay started out, he's like, I'm going to inspire white blonde chicks in the suburbs, but he has, and I love him. So I think she sees in him just like what we all kind of would as a teenager, as a sheltered teenager. It's like the bad boy, but with the heart of gold, you know, the bad boy who's going to protect me though. And he's going to be like bad to everybody else, but I'm going to be his queen. I mean, is that not what we love about bad boys? Is the idea that we can somehow change them, right? And so also, if you look at Beyonce and if you believe the story my editor told me that maybe she's a little not sophisticated in many ways, of course she's going to be attracted to a guy who's really powerful, you know, who has kind of an iron grip. Look at Beyonce's father. You think that guy was a lot of fun to live with? I don't. He seems like he was a kingmaker, you know, like we are making you guys into stars. I don't care what the cost of it is. I don't care what the cost of it is. That's happening. That's not a person who's going to let you like take some days off and like go bum around the beach or whatever, or go date a lot. No, I don't know who Beyonce dated before JayZ. Do you? Did she have relationships? I have no idea. And like, I've never even stopped to think about it. Like, did she? I don't know. So again, if you look at it kind of like she goes from one powerful, controlling, but very smart, very business savvy man to another, it makes more sense, right? Their dynamic makes more sense. And I'm not necessarily saying that her and Jay have a bad relationship. I don't think they do. I think they probably have a really good one. I think Jay maybe realizes Beyonce's limitations and like really does do that protectoring thing. I think he mentors her, he guides her, he shapes her. Also, what I thought is like, you know, Beyonce the simpleton, I can't get my head around that. That doesn't make any sense to me. But then I started to think about the mystique of Beyonce, a big reason why we're so obsessed with her is because she controls access. You know, Beyonce isn't oversharing on an Instagram story. She's not drunk stumbling out of a club. She's not like blabbing her business all over the place like Bella Thorne is. You know, there's not as much mystique about someone like Bella because it's like, girl, we heard it, we've seen it, we're done. But Beyonce, it's like, where is she? What is she thinking? You know, there's so much mystery there. But maybe that mystery is a positive spin on her not being able to conduct herself in a public forum. You don't hear a lot of interviews from Britney Spears, right? Because Britney, it's not with the talking with the public and that's not her strong suit. And maybe that's not Beyonce's either. When was the last time you saw an interview with Beyonce? I don't remember. When was the last time she came out and said something like, not just like open and honest, but long? And I'm going to do another video on things we can learn from Beyonce and what we can draw from her mystique and use in our lives. But spoiler alert, the central tenet of that is what we call cultivated brevity. Brevity, as they say, is a soul of wit. Shortness. You say what needs to be said and not a word more. I obviously am not good at this. Thank you for tolerating me. But she is. And I have to wonder, is that all part of like, yeah, the positive spin on her not being able to really say much more in public? Even when she was on the cover of Vogue, I was like, holy shit, we're actually going to hear a lot from Beyonce. Because I love reading like those cover stories. And from the point of view of the reporter, it's like, I walked into her house and there she was in sweatpants and like chilling, making an iced tea and blah, blah, blah. Like, I love to see that kind of behind the scenes thing because it really humanizes celebrity. And I always think it's funny. That didn't happen. That interview was conducted by one of her friends and submitted to Vogue. That has never in the history of Vogue been allowed to happen for that very reason. It's very important for the press to be able to get the truth when they interview a person and not have the celebrity or the subject or the politician control that narrative. That is the tenet of free press. That's the cornerstone of democracy in many ways, is you don't have people telling you only what they want you to know. But when it's Beyonce, you're going to make an exception, right? Because she does this so infrequently. She never gives an interview. So Vogue's gonna be like, sure, I'll take whatever interview you want to give me. So again, it's like, think of how genius JayZ has had to be. It's like, he's been like, all right, she's a wonderful wife. She's a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful person. She is not a wonderful interview. For whatever reason, we're not going to put her out in front of all these cameras. So how can I spin this in a way that's actually going to work for her and not against her? It's like brilliant. Like, it's brilliant. But then that brings me to like, all right, what about Lemonade? Right? Because that was her big, like, cathartic moment. Here's another thing about Beyonce that you guys, you Bey stans, you might not want to hear this. Beyonce doesn't write her own songs. She doesn't. And you're probably going to look at the liner notes or whatever, and you're going to see her name as a co-writer. Well, yeah. You don't have to write a song to be a co-writer if you put in the contract when you buy that song that you get a co-writing credit. I remember, and this weirdly didn't get much press, when she came out with Irreplaceable. Oh, such an anthem. Oh, again, changed my life. And she's like, she performed it on like Good Morning America. And she's like, I wrote this for all the girls, blah, blah, blah. And Neo, who actually did write the song, was like, no, you didn't. And he did his own little tiny interview circuit and was like, she didn't write that song. I wrote that song. And I wrote that song and I purposely sold it because for me as a man to sing it comes across as very misogynistic. So I knew a woman needed to sing that song, you know? And I sold it to Beyonce and she demanded a co-writing credit. I have a lot of friends in the music industry. A lot. Very high place. Anyway, they have said, I have heard this story so many times with Beyonce that like she'll buy a song either from an emerging songwriter or someone very well known and she'll demand the co-writing credit. And it's like, if you don't give into these terms, Beyonce's not going to buy your song. Now, what would you do? You're going to be like, okay, I could sit on this song and it's going to go nowhere. No one's going to record it. Or I could sell it to Beyonce and it'll be an ultimate hit. I'll be able to retire early. And oh, I just have to put her name on it. Okay. She actually had like a feud with Sia. This is something else that never made the press because she wanted to buy one of Sia's songs. And Sia was like, well, you're not getting a co-writing credit. And Beyonce's like, yes. And she's like, no. Yes. No. And I mean, Sia was like, well, fuck you then. I'm not selling you the song. And it was like a big deal in the music industry. Big thing. They've like patched it up, you know, like that was in the past. But like it took Sia to stand up to her. And Sia is like a badass. Like she is no joke. You know, she writes so many amazing songs for so many people. So it was only someone from Sia's power who could stand up to Beyonce. That's interesting. So what does that have to do with Lemonade? So when you look at it like, oh, maybe she didn't write Lemonade. Maybe these aren't her feelings. Maybe this is a diversification, a rebranding of Beyonce, an elevation. You know, maybe her and Jay and her team or whatever are like, she's not going to be doing the booty songs anymore. We got to kind of like complexify her a little bit. Or maybe JayZ really did cheat on her. Let's say that he did. Let's say that he did. You know, I don't know many women who would pretend that their husband cheated on them if they didn't. You know, I don't know how, I don't care what your brand is. That's not a great branding move to be like, oh yeah, I got cheated on. Especially if you're like Beyonce. Like if a man will cheat on Beyonce, he will cheat on anyone. So yeah, why did she stay with him? Let's say that she wrote every word in that album. It was the God's honest truth. He cheated and she's like still there in that marriage. Because now we have to look at what we can learn for our own lives from all of this. Sorry, once again, I'm turning purple. Look at this. Look at how hot this room is. But if I open the door, you guys think, it sounds messed up. So I am cooking inside my own skin for you. Never forget how much I love you. So yeah, let's say that this is all true because we got to take some lessons for our own life. Why would someone stay with someone who cheats on them? Again, you kind of have to look at the past. I mean, didn't Matthew Knowles have like a whole other family or something like that? Didn't he have a longtime mistress? There was a lot of bad things going on. And I think that that's not, it's disappointing, obviously, but surprising, not as much. When you go for someone who has that iron fist on your, you know, you have those daddy issues, whatever it is, and you want to like sort of have the king of the castle and have him just do everything for you. He's paying for everything. He's doing my taxes. I just want to be like the little princess. I just want to be the little sugar baby. Okay, well, girl, I don't blame you on that. But there is a downside to that. And the downside is absolute power corrupts absolutely. He's going to do whatever he wants because what are you going to say? I'm leaving. Oh, really? With what? The clothes on your back and 4 cats? I don't think you are, sweetheart. I'm going to do whatever I want. You are going to put up with it. There's something to be said about being a bird in a gilded cage, you know? Like when you look around, you see girls, it's like they have these like fabulous lives. They're sugar babies. A lot of you guys have like messaged me about potentially becoming a sugar baby. And it's like, there's a lot of upsides. You know, money is great. And I love partying a stupid man from his money. Don't get me wrong. But the person who has the money has the power. That is how it is in society as a whole. And that's how it is inside a relationship. The person who has the money has the power. The person who has that control and that influence has the power. And how can we stop from giving someone that kind of power? I mean, I can't control how much money somebody has, and it shouldn't have any bearing on my own ambition at all, right? But so say money isn't part of this equation. Say you find yourself in a weird power dynamic in your relationship. It's important you look back because we can't change what we don't acknowledge, even though it's cringy and embarrassing and painful, and say, when did I put their needs before mine? Or when did I put my needs? It's not even their needs. It's when did I assume I couldn't solve my own problems? For some people, those are financial problems. And I'm not saying they're wrong. It's like, when did I assume I have no ability to pay my own rent and to get where I need to go in this world? Hey, you take those step ups when you can. There's no shame in that. But if it's not something quite that extreme, if it's like, well, I'm in this controlling relationship because I'm afraid to leave, why? What is it you think he's fixing by having this control over your life? Because I know what you're going to say, like, well, the control isn't a good part of our relationship. It's the bad part. This person is nothing more than a seat filler in your life. You just don't want to be alone. And so when you are desperate like that, you're going to take anyone who's willing to come in. And controlling people, they can smell it. They can smell it and they're going to exploit it. Because again, it comes back to, what are you going to do? Leave? I don't think so. So if you're in this kind of dynamic, look back and think like, why do I think I can't survive without person? And write an actual list. Some of it might be valid. It's like, hey, they pay my rent. Some of it might not be valid. Some of it might be like, well, I'm going to die alone without them. Really? Really? Would you tell that to Beyonce? No. And I got news for you. You're not so different than Beyonce. You're probably very focused. You're probably dynamic. You probably have so many different dimensions to you. You're probably bold and fearless and unafraid. And you probably have a great ass. So don't for a second think that you can't do what she's doing and that you deserve a dynamic worse than what she has. Because that's not true. We all deserve a wonderful dynamic. And hopefully, behind closed doors, that's exactly what she has. I love them together. I still stand. But sometimes we got to look at a celebrity we love or any relationship, analyze it, and think, how can we use their mistakes maybe to avoid making mistakes in our own life? If you guys have more questions on this subject, or like I said, you want some one-on-one chit-chat counseling, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO, and click like and subscribe for new videos every Friday and a whole bunch in between. And follow me on Insta, Snap, and Twitter at ShallonXO.